What's going on, Vikings fans? We got some breaking news for you guys as the Chicago Bears are hiring Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to become their next head coach. And I think this is great news for Vikings fans, but also some bad news, which I will explain my thoughts in full on today's show. Also want to get you guys a Brian Flores head coaching update, as after this news and after a report we got earlier this morning about the Jets targeting Aaron Glenn possibly as their number one option, I think it's looking more and more likely that Brian Flores will be back as DC for the Vikes. So we'll explain that. But before we dive into it, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel, closing in on 52,000 subs. So if you guys are new here or have not hit that subscribe button already, please go down there and subscribe to the channel. So what a shocker here. So Ben Johnson going to the Chicago Bears. We originally were hearing reports that the Las Vegas Raiders were really targeting him hard, and that connection with Tom Brady, he has the chance to hire a new GM, get the quarterback of his choice. It was really gaining steam. But then this morning, out of nowhere, we heard that Ben Johnson, that he's going to be picking his next destination coming up soon, and it looks like it is going to be the Chicago Bears. Also, more Bears news. They're actually looking at Dennis Allen, former Saints head coach from this past season, as their defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen, even though he was a terrible head coach for the Saints, this dude knows defense, and he will be a very solid defensive coordinator. So the Bears, they're up in their coaching staff. They're making two great hires, in my opinion. And the one thing where I think this is bad news for the Vikings, I'll explain why I think it's great news here in a second, is you had Caleb Williams. I think he was coming off a rookie year where, yes, the stats looked way better than how it actually went for him. He was taking bad sacks. I just didn't think he looked nothing like what we thought he was going to look like coming out of the NFL draft. And now you add an elite offensive mind like Ben Johnson. I am sure that will help him develop. They will win games here fast. But also the one kind of skeptical side of me about Ben Johnson heading to the Bears is, listen, with the Lions, he had the best offensive line in the league. That's undisputable. He had two great running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. Are you going to be able to run the same offense and replicate what you did with the Lions with the Chicago Bears, with how terrible their offensive line is? And I like DeAndre Swift, but he is no Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. So I got some question marks there, but still, if I was a Bears fan getting this news, I would be very excited. You get that young offensive mind here. They're probably hoping that he'll end up being like Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, some of these other young offensive coaches in the National Football League. But I do want to explain here why I also think this is great news for the Minnesota Vikings. Because let's just look around. Who is the Vikings' biggest threat in the NFC over the next 10 years? You could throw the Commanders into there. You could throw the Eagles into there. But I would still assume it's the Detroit Lions' biggest reason because they are in their own in your own division. And with them losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn possibly this offseason, are we really sure that Dan Campbell is going to be able to replicate the same success he has had? Because listen, he hired two great coordinators. He should get credit for that. But he is not the one calling plays. He's not the biggest X's and O's guy out there. And I'm going to make a comparison right now, and I think Dan Campbell is a better coach than this guy. But if you guys remember last year with the Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Sirianni, when he lost Shane Steichen and Gannon, when Gannon went to the Cardinals and Steichen went to the Colts, the Eagles really struggled last year. Still made the playoffs because they got a ton of talent. And Nick Sirianni, even though I've been extremely wrong about him being a head coach, all the guy does is win. But they definitely took a step back. Now this year, they got right back to it. Hired Fangio as their DC, hired Kellen Moore as their OC, and they're right back to it. But I could see a serious regression year coming from the Detroit Lions. I just think, and especially with Jared Goff being your quarterback, it's not like they have a Mahomes, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen. Like, for example, when the Bills got rid of their OC, brought in Joe Brady. Yes, Joe Brady's a tremendous play caller, but why we haven't seen that massive fall off was because Josh Allen is that talented. Now, I think the Lions, their offensive personnel with their O-line, Laporta, young and up-and-coming guy, Jahmyr Gibbs, it's not like they have, no talent. Their offense will fall off a cliff here. But there's no doubt this is a massive loss for the Lions. And I can't imagine what their fans are going through over the last 48 hours here. You lose as a 9.5-point favorite at home to a rookie quarterback. And now over this next week, You already lost Ben Johnson. You're probably going to lose Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets. I mean, that's great for us. Like, because if we could somehow keep the same coaching staff of O'Connell, Wes Phillips, and Josh McCown offensively, and then Brian Flores and his crew, getting better this offseason with the defense and with how much money the Vikings have to spend here, I think this is great news. Like, I love this. But one more quick thought on the Bears and Ben Johnson. I'm not saying that this is going to be, the Bears are going to hit the ground running. They're going to be one of the best teams in the league. I am still very skeptical of this. Even though it stinks that that's kind of a match made in heaven. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, a guy with all types of talent, and Ben Johnson, being the great offensive mind he is. But the one thing I will say is there's a lot more to being a head coach in terms of just being an offense coordinator. Because all the problems that happen in that locker room, they go to him. If there's a problem with the guy on defense, he's complaining, he's not getting enough tick, he's going to the DC, but then it goes to the head coach, Ben Johnson, which is also, I like them bringing in Dennis Allen, a guy who's been a head coach. Now he can just focus on defense, very similar to what the Vikings did with Brian Flores. But I'm going to call this right now. The Bears kind of, the cycle that their fans go through every year, where, 7 years ago? They drafted Mitch Trubisky, fired their head coach, got their hopes up that offseason. What happened to Justin Fields? Fired their head coach, hired a new one, got their hopes up, fizzled out. The Bears are still a bad organization. Maybe Ben Johnson will change it, but I promise you, all these talk shows you watch, ESPN, Fox Sports, First Things First, whatever your cup of tea is, they will all be hyping this up. And I promise you this, there will be a lot of people who pick the Bears to be better than the Vikings this upcoming season, and I can't wait for it. But we'll talk about Flores here in a little bit. But let me ask you guys this. Are you scared about the Bears hiring Ben Johnson? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no down below in the comment section. Let me know if this new head coach hire in Chicago scares you guys. But we'll talk about Flores here in a second. But first off, I want to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys download the app today, use that promo code CLNS. You guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today, plug in promo code CLNS, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, what is Prize Picks? It's the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. If you guys want to put some money on the NFC Championship, AFC Championship this weekend, or create a lineup for a Timberwolves Wild game, Prize Picks is the #1 way to do so. So check them out. Download the app today. Use promo code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Got that link for you guys in the comments and description of today's show. But shout out to Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, let's close today's show out talking about Brian Flores here. So a report came out earlier this morning. Ian Rappaport said that the Jets are going to conduct a second in-person interview for Aaron Glenn. And on top of that, Adam Schefter said that Aaron Glenn's their #1 choice, which is even more great news for the Vikings because then the Lions could be losing their DC and their OC all in one cycle. Gotta love that. But we also heard that the Jets are interested in Brian Flores. So if they go the direction of Aaron Glenn and the Bears, they were another team interviewing Brian Flores, and out of the 3, the third one being the Jaguars, which I just cannot see Flores leaving the situation he has in Minnesota to go to Jacksonville. So I'm calling this right now. If the Jets hire Glenn, and with the Bears now out of the running for Flores, I really do think Flores is going to be the DC for the Minnesota Vikings, at least for next season, which is fantastic because I do want to give a lot of credit to the personnel the Vikings have defensively. Grenard, Van Ginkel, we got some good players over there. But if I had to kind of give it a grade in terms of overall talent, I'd probably go it's more of a B, but Flores had this group playing at an A- level, if not an A level for a majority of the season. So, listen, this is big-time NFC North news. I wanted to hop up on here on my off day and just talk about it with you guys for a little bit. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Any news like this, we'll have you covered any day of the week. So hit that subscribe button, lock us in. As always, Skol Vikes.